Hello and welcome to our overview of Fortune and Famine. We want to remind our viewers that our Kickstarter overviews are brought to you in part by our sponsors and the makers of this game. Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio Awesome. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Katie, and today we would like to take a look at Fortune and Famine from Mid Level Meeple.
In Fortune and Famine, you take on the role of a ruler seeking to put enough grain in storage to see your kingdom survive a devastating famine that's approaching in 3 years' time.
Each player's kingdom starts with a queen that has a special ability, a single farmer, and a few silver coins, and a single sheaf of grain. And each season they will get a chance to hire additional workers to contribute towards their goal.
At the beginning of each season is a hire phase, where hire cards are dealt out for the players to bid on and win a single worker to add to their kingdom each season.
Some of the hire cards are wizards that can be immediately taken without bidding on them. They have a strong ability that can only be used once before discarding.
The other thing that might show up in the hire phase are famine cards. Players have to be careful because when famine cards show up, they lose half of their grain that hasn't been stored yet.
After the hire phase, players can use their hired pickpockets and evil wizards to attack their opponents, forcing them to either lose resources or workers.
Then, during the payment phase and reward phase, players may pay their workers to receive the resources they earn as rewards.
Finally, at the end of the season, there is a decision phase in which players will decide whether to receive a resource or to pay a silver to store their grain.
Any stored grain is safe from famine cards that appear, and at the end of the 3 years, whoever has the most stored grain wins the game.
So in the end, this is about a 15-minute game, maybe a little bit
15
longer.
minutes per player, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it can play up to 6 players, so
Yes.
you're looking at maybe an hour and a half, but overall, it's probably a shorter game.
I was going to say, I'd honestly think it's a lot shorter than that. There's not a lot of reading, and the gameplay itself is fairly simplistic. So it's bidding, taking cards, and playing them out as written on the cards. So nothing really tricky here.
Yeah, there are variable player powers with those queens that you have. Mm-hmm. So every time you play might be a little different because you don't necessarily know which queen you're going to play with. Mm-hmm. I know I had one that let me use tokens that every time a famine came out, I could spend a token to immediately store my grain, and it kind of saved me from 3 famines, but only the 3. And then there's others out there that do other things. They're not all famine related, so they can get kind of tricky, and you have to remember what all is out there, what other people might be using.
Yeah, those queen cards do really change up the way the game is played. This game also has a hidden scoring mechanic, so you don't actually know where you're really at in the game unless you're really paying attention to what's being put in bags.
There is a light engine building and resource management aspect to the game, which you can kind of focus a lot on silver, I feel like, is one strategy. I think focus on silver early in the game, then wheat later in the game. But you might have a different strategy. Maybe you're going to focus on the evil wizards and attacking in the second and third year. Mm-hmm. And you do have to pay attention to when you're storing your grain because of that press your luck mechanic with the famine cards. Because you may not see the famines at all. Every time the cards are dealt out, you burn a card first. So you don't see the entire deck of any of the 3 years.
Yeah, so you never know what cards are going to come out.
Yeah, there is 1 famine card in the first, 2 in the second, and 3 in the third year, I believe. It depends on player count, maybe. but those might be the cards that you burnt, so you don't know whether those famine cards are going to come out or not.
Yeah, so you could play a complete famine-free year, but don't count on that for sure.
If this sounds of interest to you, check out Fortune and Famine on Kickstarter, and be sure to stay tuned to our channel for more board gaming videos like this one.